There is a moment I have witnessed thousands of times in coffee shops, at dinner parties, in airport lounges, in my office during couples therapy, and most men walk right past it without ever realizing what just happened. A woman touches something around a man, and in that tiny, almost invisible gesture, her body confesses something her lips have never said out loud. I'm not talking about her touching him, not his arm, not his hand, not his shoulder. I am talking about her touching something near him, something close to him, something that belongs to him, his coffee cup, the sleeve of his jacket, the edge of the table where his hand is resting, the back of the chair he is sitting in, her own neck while she is looking at him. These small touches, these quiet, almost unconscious movements, most men see them and think nothing. She's fidgeting, she's adjusting her hair, she's just moving things around. But after 20 years of sitting across from women, listening to them describe the earliest flickers of attraction, I have learned something that most relationship advice will never teach you. A woman's body never lies. Her words can be careful. Her expressions can be guarded. She can smile politely while feeling completely neutral. But her hands tell the truth. And today, I want to show you exactly what to look for. The specific touches that reveal a woman's secret attraction. The ones most men miss. The ones she might not even know she is doing. Not because she is playing games, because her body is speaking a language older than words. Let me start with the first touch. And this one is the most common and the most overlooked. She touches her own neck while you are talking. I can already hear some men thinking, that doesn't mean anything. Women touch their necks all the time. It's a habit. It's itchy. It's nothing. That is what I used to think too, until I started paying closer attention. Let me tell you about something that happened about 15 years ago. I was at a dinner party, sitting across from a woman named Elaine. She was in her late 40s, married, seemingly happy. She was talking to a man who was not her husband. Just casual conversation. Nothing flirtatious. Nothing obvious. But as she listened to him speak, her hand drifted up to the base of her throat, fingers resting gently on her collarbone, then sliding slowly along the side of her neck. She did this 3 or 4 times during a 10-minute conversation. Each time, her fingers moved slowly, softly, almost like she was comforting herself. Her husband was sitting right next to her. He didn't notice. He was looking at his phone. But I noticed because I had seen that exact gesture hundreds of times before in my office. Here's what I've learned. When a woman feels attracted to a man, her nervous system activates something called the ventral vagal complex. It is part of the parasympathetic nervous system, and one of its subtle effects is increasing blood flow to the skin, especially on the face, chest, and neck. This creates a mild warming sensation, a tingling, a heightened awareness of her own skin. And without thinking, she touches her neck. Not because she is cold, not because she is nervous in a bad way, but because her body is waking up, because her skin is suddenly more sensitive, because she feels a pull toward the man in front of her, and her hand is unconsciously responding to that pull. I have tested this observation thousands of times, in social settings, in therapy sessions, in recorded couples conversations, time and again. When a woman is genuinely attracted to a man, her hand will find its way to her neck, her collarbone, or the hollow of her throat within the first few minutes of interaction. And most men never see it. They are too busy looking at her eyes, her smile, her body. They miss the quiet confession happening right in front of them. So here is the first secret sign. If a woman touches her neck while looking at you, while listening to you, while laughing at something you said, do not dismiss it as nothing. Her body is telling you something her mouth may never say. She feels drawn to you. Now let me tell you about the second touch. This one is even more subtle and even more revealing. She touches something that belongs to you. I worked with a couple several years ago, Andrew and Claire, married for 18 years. Andrew came to see me because he felt like Claire had lost interest in him. He said, she never initiates. She never compliments me. She never seems excited to see me. I think she just doesn't find me attractive anymore. So I asked Claire the same question I have asked hundreds of women. Claire, when you and Andrew are at a party or a restaurant or just sitting on the couch watching television, do you ever touch his things? His glass? His phone? The sleeve of his shirt? Claire looked at me like I had just read her diary. She blushed. Then she said quietly, I didn't think anyone noticed that. Andrew looked at her, confused. You touch my things? I never noticed. And that was the whole problem. Andrew had missed years of tiny invitations because he was waiting for something bigger. Let me explain what Claire was doing. When a woman feels attracted to a man, her brain releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. But here is what most people do not know. Oxytocin also increases her desire for physical closeness with safe, familiar people. But many women, especially women over 40, have been socialized not to be too forward, not to reach for a man first, not to seem too eager. So her body finds a compromise. She doesn't touch him directly. That would feel too bold, too risky, too vulnerable. Instead, she touches something that belongs to him, his water glass, the edge of his notebook, his jacket sleeve draped over a chair, the keys he just set down on the table. This is what I call proximity touching, and it is one of the most reliable signs of secret attraction that exists. Her brain is saying, I want to be close to him. Her body is saying, I will touch what he touches. And her conscious mind barely registers any of it. I started paying attention to this after noticing a pattern in my own clinical work. Time and again, when a woman was attracted to her husband but struggling to express it, she would touch his belongings without realizing what she was doing. She would pick up his coffee mug and hold it while talking to him. She would run her fingers along the back of his chair. She would straighten the collar of his jacket hanging by the door. These were not chores. These were not habits. These were love expressions. Silent, unspoken, deeply honest love expressions. And the men who noticed them? The men who saw these tiny touches for what they were? They didn't need to beg for affection. They didn't need to ask, do you still want me? They already knew, because her hands were telling them every single day. So here's the second secret sign. If a woman touches your things, your glass, your jacket, your phone, your keys, the chair you just left, she is not being random. She is not being tidy. She is touching what you touched because she wants to be close to you. Her body is making contact with your world because her heart is already reaching for you. Now let me tell you about the third touch. This one is the most intimate and the most easily misunderstood. She touches her own lips while looking at you. I need to be very careful how I say this because this is where a lot of bad advice gets it wrong. Some men will hear this and think, she's touching her lips. That means she wants me to kiss her. I should go for it. No, that is not what I am saying. And that kind of thinking is exactly why so many men miss the deeper truth. Let me explain what is actually happening. I worked with a woman named Patricia, 54 years old, married for 29 years. She came to see me because she felt disconnected from her husband, but she couldn't explain why. During one of our sessions, she was describing a difficult conversation she had with her husband the previous week. As she talked, her fingers drifted to her lower lip. She pressed gently. Then she traced the outline of her mouth. I asked her, Patricia, do you know you just touched your lips? She looked surprised, then embarrassed. Then she started to cry. She said, I didn't realize I was doing that. But now that you mention it, I do that when I am talking about something I really want, something I'm afraid to ask for. That moment changed everything for Patricia, because what she was touching wasn't her lips. She was touching her own longing. Here is the psychology behind this. The lips are one of the most densely innervated parts of the human body. They have hundreds of nerve endings designed for sensitivity, for pleasure, for connection. When a woman feels attracted to a man, her brain activates the same neural pathways that would activate if she were actually being kissed. Not fully, not consciously, but the anticipation alone creates a tingling, a heightened awareness, a quiet hunger. And without thinking, her fingers go to her lips, not as an invitation, not as a signal to the man, as a self-soothing gesture, a way of acknowledging her own desire before she is ready to share it with anyone else. This is why so many men miss this sign, because they are waiting for her to invite them in. But she is still in the quiet, private moment of recognizing her own wanting. She is touching her lips because something about you made her feel something, and she is still figuring out what to do with that feeling. So if you see a woman touch her lips while looking at you, while listening to you, while laughing with you, do not lean in, do not assume, do not pressure. Instead, understand what just happened. Her body just confessed something to you that she hasn't even admitted to herself. She feels something, and she is trying to decide if it is safe to feel it. Your job in that moment is not to close the distance. Your job is to make her feel safe enough to keep feeling it. Stay present, stay warm, stay calm. Let her see that you notice nothing, that you are not demanding anything, that she can feel whatever she is feeling without it becoming a transaction. That safety, that patience, that is what transforms secret attraction into open desire. Let me bring all three of these signs together. She touches her neck. She touches your things. She touches her own lips. Three tiny gestures. Three quiet confessions. Most men will see these things 100 times and never understand what they just witnessed. But you know better now. You know that a woman's body has its own language, a language of skin and nerves and ancient wiring, a language that speaks before her mind catches up, a language that never lies. And when you learn to hear that language, something remarkable happens. You stop needing her to say the perfect words. You stop needing her to initiate first. You stop needing her to be obvious and loud and clear, because her hands are already telling you everything. She feels safe with you. She wants to be near you. She is quietly, secretly, deeply attracted to you, and all you have to do is see it and respond with warmth instead of pressure, with presence instead of performance, with patience instead of hunger. That is what makes you different from every other man who walked right past her without ever noticing what her hands were saying. Soft piano music swells gently, warm, hopeful, deeply human. If this conversation touched something in your heart, I hope you will subscribe. Not because of algorithms, but because there are more conversations like this to share, about the quiet language of desire, about learning to see each other again, about the small gestures that contain whole love stories within them. I will be here next time. Until then, watch your hands, not with suspicion, with curiosity, with tenderness, because her hands have been trying to tell you something for a very long time. It is time to finally hear them.